three lines from the bottom. Mem Ches Amud Beis, where it says Tanya. So the Gemara will discuss further the details of the actual nusach of benching, which we began yesterday. Tanya, we learned in Abraisa, Rabbi Eliezer says, Kol Shelo Yomar Eretz Chemda Toivo Rechava Bebirchas Aretz. If you did not, we said that in the second bracha, we're thanking the Eibusher for giving us the land, Eretz Yisrael. But if you don't say specifically that it's a Eretz Chemda, that it's a desired land, or Toiva, a good land, or Chava, an expanded land, in that bracha, if you don't mention these details, and then in the next bracha, where we daven Rachem, that the Eibusher should build Yerushalayim again, Malchus Beis David, if you don't mention the kingdom of David HaMelech, the Beinei Yerushalayim and the bracha of Beinei Yerushalayim, Lo Yatzei Dei Chivasei. You're not Yaitzi Yechiv. But Rashi here says that in the pasuk it describes Eretz Yisrael as Eretz Chemda Toiva Rechava, and that's what we have to mention in the bracha. That's the way it's described. And also Yerushalayim was sanctified, was designated through David HaMelech, and therefore you have to mention David HaMelech in the bracha. Sagt the Gemara weiter, Nachum Hazaken Eimer. Nachum Hazaken said, Tzarech Sheyiska Ba Bris. In the second bracha, you have to mention the bris Smila. Rav Yosi Eimer, Rav Yosi says, Tzarech Sheyiska Ba Teira. You have to mention the Teira. So Rashi explains that Eretz Yisrael was given to Avram Avinu in connection with the fact that he did the mitzvah of bris Mila. And also Teira, the Eibusher gave us the Eretz Yisrael in connection with the fact that Yidden learned Teira in it, as Rashi brings the psukim. So therefore it has to be mentioned in this bracha where we thank the Eibusher for Eretz Yisrael. But when you mention these two, the bris is mentioned before Teira, as we say it in the nusach of the bracha, al brischa and then al teirascha. Shazu nitna b'shalish brisois. The Teira is given with 3 brisais, as Rashi explains, by Matan Teira, and then in the Oyel Moed, and then when the Yidden at the end of the 40 years, when they were about to enter into Eretz Yisrael, and then on Har Grizim, when the Yidden came there again, there was a Har Grizim and Har Evel, where there was a bris again. So the Teira was given in 3 brisais, and Vizu, when it comes to the bris Mila, Nitna b'Yud Gimel brisais. The term bris is mentioned 13 times in the parsha there, and therefore the bris is on a much higher level, there's a much stronger bond, and therefore it comes first. Rabbi says regarding the second bracha, you have to mention thanks to the Eibusher in the beginning of the bracha and in the end of the bracha. As we say, that's how we begin, and then we say again towards the end, you should mention twice that expression. And if you're going to say less than these 2 times, but don't say less than once the expression of thanks in this bracha. And if you don't even mention the expression of thanks in this bracha, not even once, so this is saying a bracha, but the person is despicable. The bracha has to have the expression of thanks in it. And then when you conclude the bracha, what's the nusach of the conclusion of the bracha? So one that concludes, Manchel Arotzais. The Eibusher inherits to us the lands, he says Arotzais in a plural term, not singling out Eretz Yisrael. The Birchas Haaretz in this bracha, or Umeishias Yisrael b'Beinei Yerushalayim, when it comes to the third bracha of Rachem, which concludes in Beinei Yerushalayim, but instead of saying Beinei Yerushalayim, he says Baruch Atah Hashem Meishias Yisrael Harei Zeh Bur. This individual is an ignoramus, because that's not the way you're supposed to finish off the bracha. You're supposed to thank the Eibusher specifically for giving us Eretz Yisrael, and thank the Eibusher for the building of Yerushalayim. And one that does not say, this is the continuation of what Rav Abba said, which is Rav, by the way, and it's part of the Braisa that the Gemara is quoting here. So Rav said, if you don't mention Bris and Teira, the Birchas Haaretz in the second bracha, Malchus Beis David b'Beinei Yerushalayim, and the kingdom of David in the bracha of Beinei Yerushalayim, Lo Yatzei Dei Chivasei. He wasn't Yaitzes Chiyuv of benching. This statement in this Braisa is a raya, proves also what Rabbi Law said, because he said the same thing in the name of Rav. The Amar Rabbi Law, Rabbi Yaakov Barach Mishum Rabbeinu, he said it in the name of Rabbeinu, which is Rav. Kol Shalayama Bris v'Teira v'Birchas Haaretz. Whoever did not say Bris and Teira in the second bracha, where we thank Hashem for Eretz Yisrael, Umalchus Beis David b'Beinei Yerushalayim, the kingdom of David HaMelech, in the third bracha of Beinei Yerushalayim, Lo Yatza Yidei Chivasei, wasn't Yaitze Chiyuv. However, there is another argument here between the Abba Yossi ben Destoi and the Rabbanan regarding the fourth bracha. One of them said, when you say the fourth bracha, Hatova Meitiv, you have to begin with Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. You have to begin with Melech HaOlam. The Chad Amar, but another said, Ein Tzricha Malchus. You don't have to begin with Melech HaOlam. What's the basis of their argument? Man Da'amar Tzricha Malchus, the one that says that you begin with the bracha and you say Melech HaOlam again, Kesava de Rabbanon. He holds this bracha as a separate institution that Chachamim made in a later time. It's not connected to the previous brachas. So we're not relying on the fact that he already said at the first bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, and therefore he says separately in this bracha Melech HaOlam. Uman Da'amar Ein Tzricha Malchus, the one that says that it does not need again to say the malchus, to mention the malchus of the Eibishter, although without malchus there's no bracha usually, is because it's a follow-up, it's a continuation of the previous brachas. Kesava Dairaisa. He holds that the fourth bracha is a hamshach to the previous brachas, just like in Noida and in Rachim, you don't begin with Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam because it's a hamshach, what the Gemara calls earlier, bracha asnucha lechaverta. So too over here, you don't have to say Melech HaOlam. But Rashi says that even according to this opinion, you do have to begin with Baruch Atah Hashem, because the whole bracha is one long praise for the Eibishter. So therefore, you begin with Baruch Atah Hashem, beginning with an expression of thanks. But you don't have to say Melech HaOlam again, because that was said already at the beginning of benching.
I guess that's how we see that we hold that to Rabbanan.
Exactly. We paskin is to Rabbanan, and therefore we say Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. Right. Not only that, as the Gemara will say, we mentioned the Malchus of the Eibishter 3 times. Let's see. So now the Gemara brings a braisa which is different than what we said before. Before we said that someone that says in the third bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Mashiach Yisrael is Stam and Ignoramus. But here we're going to see that this is an argument. What does a person conclude in Binyan Yerushalayim? Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda Omer Mashiach Yisrael. He concludes the bracha and says Mashiach Yisrael, the Eibishter, is the savior of the Yidden. Fragt the Gemara, Mashiach Yisrael in Bain Yerushalayim Loi? Does he only say Mashiach Yisrael and he does not mention Bain Yerushalayim? The main thing, the way the Eibishter helps Yidden is through building Yerushalayim. And for the Gemara Loi, that's not the pshat. Ela Eime Ach Mashiach Yisrael. What he was saying was that when you say the chsima of the bracha, mention both. Mention the fact that the Eibishter helps Yidden and he builds Yerushalayim. So now the Gemara says a story of what happened regarding this. Rabbi bar Avhuna ikla lebei reish galusa. Rabbi bar Avhuna came and he was having a meal by the reish galusa. Pasach b'chada. So he began the bracha with one statement. When he started the bracha of Rachem, he only began saying one thing, because when you begin the bracha, you say Rachem Hashem Lakeinu al Yisrael Amecha va'al Yerushalayim Yirecha. You say 2 things, but he began the bracha with only mentioning one of them. But v'siyim betarti. When it came to the chesima of the bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, so he did like Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda just said. He said Baruch Atah Hashem, Mashiach Yisrael, B'nei Yerushalayim. Amar Rav Chisda, so Rav Chisda commented to him, Gvorte lemechtem betarti. Is it a strength? Is it a good thing to finish off a bracha with 2 different statements? Tanya, we learned in a braisa that you shouldn't do so. When you conclude a bracha, don't include in the conclusion 2 points. Rabbi Yoime ein chaismen b'shtayim. Rabbi says you don't conclude a bracha with 2 statements. Every conclusion has to be with 1 theme. So therefore Rav Chisda was telling him that what you did was not correct. Now the Gemara will analyze this thing and show certain brachas that it seems like we do conclude with more than 1 theme in the conclusion of the bracha. There's a few things. The Gemara does not bring up Yom Kippur here, but the Gemara brings up other cases. Yeah, okay. Guf, so let's analyze now what Rav said. Rabbi that is. Rabbi Yomer ein chaismen mishtayim. When you conclude a bracha, you don't mention 2 things. Eis ve'levi Levi asked the question in benching. You do that. You do that. Ala aretz v'ala mazayin. In the second bracha, we conclude ala aretz v'ala mazayin, thanking the Eibishter for the land and for the food. And for the Gemara, no, it's 1 thing. Eretz the mafka mazayin. We're thanking the Eibishter for the land which produces the food. It's not 2 separate things. Sagt the Gemara, ala aretz v'ala peiros. When we bench in the Me'in Shalosh, so we say ala aretz v'ala peiros, thanking the Eibishter for the land and for the fruits. And for the Gemara, the same point. Eretz the mafkaperis. It's all one thing. The land which produces the fruits. It's not two different things. Fragt the Gemara, Mekadesh Yisrael v'azmanim. How about on Yontif? The conclusion of the Brach and Shmei Nesra is thanking the Eibusher for sanctifying Yidden and sanctifying the times for the Yontif. And for the Gemara, no, it's only one theme. Yisrael the kachinul izmanim. We're thanking the Eibusher for sanctifying us, and we sanctify the times. The Eibusher gave us the ability to sanctify the times. Fragt the Gemara, Mekadesh Yisrael v'Rosh Chadashim. When it comes on Rosh Chodesh, we thank the Eibusher for Yisrael and Rosh Chadashim. And for the Gemara, Yisrael the kachinul Rosh Chadashim. Yidden are the ones that are Mekadesh to Rosh Chadashim. We're Mekadesh to Rosh Chadashim, and then through that we establish also the Yom Tovim.
From Mekadesh is man, of course, from Mekadesh is
correct. The answer is the same exact answer. Yeah, and Chanami. The Gemara goes weiter. Mekadesh HaShabbos v'Yisrael v'Azmanim. How about if Shabbos falls out on Yontif? So then you thank the Eibusher for being Mekadesh Shabbos and for the Yisrael, which are Mekadesh the Yom Tovim. But Shabbos and Yom Tovim are certainly not the same theme. And for the Gemara, Chutz Mizu. Here, Taka, Rebbe had to concede to Levi that we're mentioning two different things in the bracha. So what's the difference? Why over here do we mention two different things? So the Gemara says, Chodihi. It's taka two different things, but it's considered to be all one thing. That the Eibusher benches the Yidden, the Eibusher is Mekadesh the Yidden, and the Yidden keep Shabbos and Yontif. So they're connected. The Shabbos and Yontif are still connected, and therefore, although it is two things, but we can mention both of them in the Chasima of the Bracha. But Hassam, when it comes to what he did before, Rabbi Bar Avuna did before, regarding benching, where you say Mashiach Yisrael and Bnei Yerushalayim Tarti. Those are two different things. The Eibusher could save Yidden without the city of Yerushalayim. Then the Eibusher builds Yerushalayim and brings them to Yerushalayim. There it's two different things. So that to that extent, you don't include in a bracha two different themes. Zak the Gemara, Kol is part of the answer, sorry. Kol Chodesh v'Chodesh b'api nafsha. Each one is a separate theme, and therefore it's not, you don't make a chesima when you have two separate things in the bracha. Now the Gemara says, V'taimim mai. What's the reason why not to make the chesima of the bracha to include a few things in that same chesima? And for the Gemara, V'taimim mai ein chesmin b'shtayim. Why don't we conclude with both of them together? And for the Gemara, l'fishay naisim mitzvahs, chavilis, because you don't bundle mitzvahs. Just like you don't bundle mitzvahs together, same thing a bracha, which is a mitzvah. You don't want to bundle in one bracha. I thank the Eibusher for this and for this and for this. A separate bracha for everything that you're thanking the Eibusher.
That sounds better for Shabbos and Yom Tov. This is not two mitzvahs. Shabbos and Yom Tov is two mitzvahs.
Zok the Gemara, my haviyallah. So what is the conclusion b'nigeya to the nusach of the bracha, of the third bracha? How should we begin? How should we conclude? What's the conclusion? Amar Rav Sheishes, Pasach berachem al Amcha Yisrael. If when he began the bracha of Rachem, he only mentioned Amcha Yisrael, he didn't mention Yerushalayim, so then Chaysim b'Mashiach Yisrael. So then he should conclude the bracha also in the same way, mentioning the fact that the Eibusher saves Yidden. Pasach berachem al Yerushalayim. If he began the bracha and he only mentioned Yerushalayim, Chaysim b'Bain Yerushalayim. He concludes with Bain Yerushalayim. So it depends. You just make the beginning and the end the same. Okay?
Are they going to discuss for Shin Kippur?
But Rav Nachman says, Afilu Pasach berachem al Yisrael, even if you began only mentioning that the Eibusher should have mercy upon Yidden, but Chaysim b'Bain Yerushalayim. The conclusion of the bracha should always be Bain Yerushalayim. Why? Mishum shenemar Bain Yerushalayim Hashem Nitche Yisrael Yechanes. The Eibusher builds the city of Yerushalayim, and then he gathers all the Yidden into Yerushalayim. Amosai Bain Yerushalayim Hashem. When and why is the Eibusher building the city of Yerushalayim? Bizman she Yisrael Shenitche Yisrael Yechanes. At the time when he gathers the Yidden. So the whole purpose of building the city of Yerushalayim is in order to gather the Yidden into it. Which means that the way the Eibusher is saving Yidden is through the city of Yerushalayim. So even if you began with Rachem, that the Eibusher should have mercy on Yidden, you conclude Yerushalayim because that's what Yerushalayim is. The city of Yerushalayim the Eibusher builds for Yidden. Amalei Rav Zayla Rav Chiste. Rav Zayla said to Rav Chiste, Neisi Marvanisni, come let's learn. You want to have a chavrusa to learn. He says, come let's learn together. Amalei, he said to him, Birchas Mezayne Loi Gamrina, I don't even know yet how to make brachas on food. You want to come and I should come learn? I have to first figure out how to make brachas. Amalei, my hi, what's the problem? You don't know how to make a bracha on food? What happened? Amalei, so he answered him, the ikli lebei reish galusa. because I came, I had a meal by the Reish Galusa, and I said the benching. I was benching, and what happened? And Rav Sheshes straightened himself out, he straightened out his neck, and he looked at me like a snake that was like about to attack me. Like I did something wrong. What happened? And what did I do wrong? In the second bracha, I didn't mention not the bris, not teire, and in the third bracha, I didn't mention malchus. So Rav Sheshes was very shocked. So he says to him, Rav Chisda says to him, or Rav Zayda says to Rav Chisda, so why didn't you mention? Don't you know that you are supposed to mention bris, teire, and malchus in the benching? So he said, so he said, I was following what Rav Chananel said in the name of Rav. If you did not mention these three things, bris, teire, and malchus, and benching, yotza, you're yaitza. Why not? Bris lefisheina benoshim. Bris is because this is not a mitzvah by the women. And teire and malchus, and the teire, learning the mitzvah of learning teire, and malchus also, malchus based David is also lefisheina, and loy benoshim, v'loy ba'avadim. It's not shaykh to women and to avadim either. So therefore he wanted to have a nusach of a bracha that should be equal for the men and women. I'm not a bracha where it mentions things that's only for the men and not for the women. So that's why he didn't mention it. So Rav Chisda says to him, V'ad shafkes kol hani tanoi v'amiroi v'avdis kerav, and you left all the opinions that we know, that all the other Tanaim and Amiroim agree that you should mention Bris, Teira, and Malchus, and you follow this single opinion that Rav Hananel said in the name of Rav. So this is the maskana, that there's the bracha that you say Bris, Teira, and Malchus, and the women say that as well in the bracha. Now we go to the fourth bracha. Hatoiva meitiv tzricha malchus. When you say the beginning, the opening of the bracha of Hatoiva malchus, you begin not with just Baruch Atah Hashem, but you have to say also Lekeinu Melech Ha'olam. You have to mention Melech Ha'olam when you start the bracha. Frek the Gemara Mai Kamash Malam. What's the chiddush over here that Rabbi Yochanan said that you have to mention Melech Ha'olam? Kol bracha she'ein ba malchus loishma bracha. Is he coming to tell me that anytime you say Baruch Atah Hashem and you don't mention the Eibish's malchus that it's not a bracha? Is that the chiddush? We learned this already once before. That we had this already earlier, if you remember. The Gemara discussed brachos. Rav's opinion was that even if you didn't mention malchus, it's a bracha. Rabbi Yechanan's opinion is every bracha, if you don't mention melech ha'olam, it's not a bracha b'chlal. So Rav said this regarding all brachas. What's the chiddush regarding the bracha of Ateva Meitiv? Rav Zayda answered, Loima shatzricha shtei malchias. You actually mentioned the expression of malchus twice. Besides melech ha'olam, you say afterwards Elokeinu, and then you say Malkeinu. You say Malkeinu a second time. Why? Why do you have to mention Malkeinu a second time? Chadedida. One is for this bracha, like Rabbi Yochanan said, you always need melech ha'olam. V'chade the Bnei Yerushalayim. And then a second time you mention it to replace the fact that in Bnei Yerushalayim the expression of the malchus of the Eibishter wasn't mentioned there. So we mention it now in this bracha. Frag the Gemara, wait a minute, we have to replace the malchus that wasn't mentioned before in Bnei Yerushalayim? You should have to mention the melucha of the Eibishter here in this bracha a third time. Why a third time? Chadedida, one for this bracha, Chaded the Bnei Yerushalayim, one to make up for the fact that melucha was not mentioned in the third bracha of Bnei Yerushalayim, v'chaded the birchas haaretz, and then a third time to make up for the fact that it wasn't mentioned in the second bracha either. Ella, so what's the answer to this? Birchas haaretz, my time Eloi. Why in the second bracha don't we mention the Eibishter's melucha? Mishum dahavila bracha smucha lechaverta, because this bracha is following the first bracha where we do mention the Eibishter's melucha. So Bnei Yerushalayim naviloi to buy. If so, if the second bracha follows the first bracha and therefore the Eibishter's melucha doesn't have to be mentioned, so the same thing is also with the third bracha. Dahavila bracha smucha lechaverta. That really it's following the previous bracha, and therefore you don't have to mention anything. You don't have to mention the Eibishter's melucha, so you don't have to make it up in the fourth bracha. So why do you have to say melucha twice in the bracha of Ateva Meitiv? And for the Gemara, Hu adin da filo Bnei Yerushalayim nami loy boy. You're right. Really, even in the bracha of Bnei Yerushalayim, you don't have to mention melech ha'olam because you already said melech ha'olam in the beginning of benching. and it's following that. Ella, the only thing is, in the third bracha there's something else. Aidi the Amma, Malchus based David, because in the third bracha we speak about the Melucha of David HaMelech, Lav Eirech Ared Amma Malchus Shemayim. It's not appropriate that once you're talking about kingdom, and you talk about David HaMelech's kingdom, it's not appropriate to leave it at that and not to mention that the Eibush is the king of kings, and therefore there's an Indian to mention over there the Malchus, and you have to make it up in the fourth bracha since you didn't mention it there. Rav Papa said different to explain what Rabbi Yechina said before. Hachikama. This is the pshat. Tzricha shtei malchiyis levar midida. You can mention twice melech besides the first time when you say melech olam. You do mention twice again malchus. You say malkeinu and then you say again melech. The nusach of the bracha you mention 3 times the term melech to make up for Bnei Yerushalayim and also for Noida. It's taka bracha smucha lechaverta, so you don't have to mention it there, but you do make it up later in Atoiv HaMeitiv. Yosef Rav Zera. Rav Zera was sitting. Achayred Rav Gidl behind Rav Gidl. The Yosef Rav Gidl kamed Rav Huna. And Rav Gidl was sitting in front of Rav Huna. The Yosef, and while Rav Gidl was sitting there, the Ka'amar, so Rav Zera, that was sitting behind him, was speaking over him and having a conversation with Rav Huna, and he said as follows: Tov alehiska shel Shabbos. What happens if a person forgot to forgot to mention Shabbos in benching? What do you do? Oimer, what do you say? You say the following bracha: Baruch shenosan Shabbosis l'menucha la'ama Yisrael ba'ava la'ois l'bris Baruch atah Hashem mekadesh haShabbos. That's the bracha you say to make up for the tzei. Amalei. So Rav Huna said, Man Omra, who's the source of this? So Rav, he said, Rav said this. Rav Gidl answered. Rav is the one that said this. Hada Yosef Kamar, again he was sitting there and he said, Tov alehiska shel yomtiv. What happens if you forgot to mention yomtiv? You forgot to say yaaleh veyavo in benching. Oimer, so then there's a bracha you can make up and say, Baruch shenosan yomim tovim la'am Yisrael l'simcha l'zikarim. With joy and to remember the different things that Yom Tov is about. And then you conclude, Baruch Mekadesh Yisrael Vazmana. Amalei, so again Rav Huna asked, Man Omra, who's the source of this? And Rav Gidl answered, Rav. Rav is the one that said this. Hada Yosef Kamar, a third time, Rav Zayda was sitting behind and he said, Tov alehiska shel Rosh Chodesh. What happens if you forgot to say yaaleh veyavo in Rosh Chodesh? Oimer, so then you say, Baruch shenosan Roshi Chadoshim la'ama Yisrael l'zikarim. You thank a separate bracha. You thank the Eibusher for the Rosh Chodesh. And now the Gemara says, "V'lo yadayna, hi ama basimcha, iloi ama basimcha." I don't know if when it comes to the Rosh Chodesh, you also say that Rosh Chodesh is a day of simcha or not. I don't know if you mentioned that as well. Ichasim ba, iloi chasim ba. And I don't know if when you conclude, do you say again Baruch atah Hashem like it mentioned before regarding Shabbos and Yom Tov? Do you say again Baruch atah Hashem or not? And also, Ididei idirabe. So Rav Gidl is saying, I'm not sure if this was Rav Zayda's own statement that he said, or was he saying this in the name of his teacher, which was Rav. Gidl bar Minyaimi havakoi kamei de Rav Nachman. Gidl bar Minyaimi was sitting by a suda in front of Rav Nachman. What happened? Rav Nachman made a mistake and he forgot to say yaaleh veyavo. Okay? So what happened? So he went back to the beginning of benching. Amalei. So he said to him, "My time of mar hachi. Why did you do this? Why did you have to go back to the beginning of benching?" Amalei. So he said to him, "Da Amar Rav Shila Amar Rav," because Rav Shila said in the name of Rav, "Ta chayzel aroish." If you forgot to say yaaleh veyavo in benching, you have to go back to the beginning. What we just heard, the story here that Rav Huna said in the name of Rav, if you made a mistake, then you have a bracha that you could say to make up for what you forgot. You don't have to go back to the beginning of benching. Amalei, so Rav Nachman said, didn't we learn about this? Amar Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa, Amar Rav, when could you say that bracha to make up for the tzeir yaaleh veyavo if you didn't begin the next bracha yet? If you began the next bracha, then you have to go back to the beginning of benching, which of course is the halacha l'maisa that we do.
We have like a split second to figure this out.
Yeah, correct. The person chapsach right there,
That
so
whole-
then you
that
can
whole
say the
extra
bracha.
page is if you remember.
Amarav Nachman, or Amarav Idi, sorry, but Oven, Amarav Amram, Amarav Nachman, Amar Shmuel. Tov Eloi Hiske Shorosh Chodesh B'Tfilah. If you forgot and you didn't mention yaaleh veyavo in davening, machzir in oisai, you have to daven again. We had this already in one of the earlier prakim where we were learning the halachas about davening. The birchas hamazayin, if you forgot yaaleh veyavo in benching, ein machzir in oisai. So here it said that he doesn't have to go back. Amalei Rav Oven Rav Amram. So Rav Oven questioned this and he asked Rav Amram, Maish not tefillah or maish not birchas hamazon? What's the difference? This was all said in the name of Shmuel. So why does Shmuel make a difference between davening and benching? That by davening you have to go back and by benching you don't. Amalei, so Rav Nachman said, Afle didi kashili. I had the same question as well. Sorry, Rav Amram said, I think that is, right? I had the same question. V'she'ilte Rav Nachman. And I asked Rav Nachman about the pshat in this. V'amali, and Rav Nachman said to me, Mineidish mar Shmuel lo shmieli. From Shmuel himself, I didn't hear the pshat, I didn't hear the reason of what's the difference between davening and benching. Ella nachsianan, let us see it for ourselves, figure out what's the difference. Tefillah, the chayvahi, davening on a shchaydish, which is an obligation, so then machzir naisai, you have to go back. Birchas mezayna, but when it comes to eating on a shchaydish, the boy achal, the boy lo yachal, if you want you could eat, if you want you don't eat, ein machzir naisai. So then you don't have to go back. So Taisvis asks that L'chaydish is a day you're not allowed to fast. There's a whole list of days you're not supposed to fast, and one of them is the Shchaydish. So Taisvis, but you don't have to wash for bread and then be mechuyev to bench the full benching, right? So you can eat whatever else he wants. Ela meyato Shabbos v'yamim tovim d'loy sagi d'loy achel hachanami. So now on Shabbos and Yom Tov, where it's not enough if he doesn't eat, you must. There's a chiyuv to eat, which means a chiyuv to wash, according to Taisus' pshat, for bread. So chanami di toy hadar. If you forget to say yaaleh veyavo and Yom Tov, you're gonna have to bench again. Amalei in, yes, that's exactly what the halach is. Rish Chodesh, if you forget yaaleh veyavo, you don't have to bench again. But on Yom Tov, when it's a chiyuv to wash and eat a kazayis of bread, a challah, so then you have to bench again. Dam Rav Shila Amarav to chayzel l'rosh. On Yom Tov, if you made a mistake, you didn't say yaaleh veyavo, you have to go back to the beginning. And this is the halacha. If you forgot to say yaaleh veyavo in benching.
Yom Tov.
On Rosh
On Yom Tov. Rosh Chodesh you don't have to go back in benching.
On Tov you have to go back.
On Yom Tov you do. V'ha'amarav hone, amarav ta oime baruch shenosan. So the Gemara again asks a question we already addressed before. So he asked that l'chayre we can make up by saying baruch shenosan. So even on Yom Tov you don't have to go back again to the beginning of benching. The Gemara la bitman Allah, but we already said about this. Loishanu el shloi pasach ba'toiva meitiv. The fact that you can make it up with that bracha is if you didn't begin the next bracha of ba'toiva meitiv. Aval pasach ba'toiva meitiv chayzel l'rosh. But if you began the next bracha, so then you have to go back to the beginning of benching.
That's the halacha.
Yes. At kama mezamnin v'chulo. Now going back to the Mishnah. How much does a person have to eat to be chayiv in benching? Rab Meir says a kezayis, and Rabbi Yehuda says a kebetza. So the Gemara now will bring a contradiction to both of these opinions. Remember, shall we say that Rabbi Meir choshev le kezayis, that Rabbi Meir's opinion is that a kezayis is the amount that's choshev to be chayiv in benching, and Rabbi Yehuda kebetza. And Rabbi Yehuda holds no, the amount of a kebetza is what's choshev. But if chashamin aluhu, we see the opposite. It's done. We learned in a Mishnah, and this is regarding a person that has a kachim, he has a piece of a carbon with him, and he leaves Yerushalayim. He goes out of the boundaries of where you're allowed to take the kachim outside Yerushalayim. Okay, this is what it says here in the Mishnah. Follows also another case where a person left his house and he forgot that he left over chametz in his house. Does he have to go back to take care of the chametz that's in his house? So it depends how much chametz he left over. Did he leave a kazayis or a kebetza? Now the Mishnah continues and says the same thing also regarding a person that has a piece of a carbon and he walked outside Yerushalayim. V'chein mishiyatzam Yerushalayim. Person that was walking and he walked out of Yerushalayim. V'niska shahoye b'yodei b'sar kodesh. And he remembers that he has a piece of kachim. Im avar tzayfim, if he passed the place of tzayfim, which is a place that you could look and see the base of Mikdash, so he's still not that far Soifa bim kaimai. So if you already passed Soifim, if you already passed that place, so he's already far gone, so then you have to burn it right where you are in the place, where you are. Vim lav, if you did not pass Soifim, then Chayzer, he goes back to Yerushalayim, and you have to burn it over there in the place in front of the by the Beis Hamikdash. From you take from the wood of the marocha of the mizbeach and you burn it right there. Right? There's a special place they had designated to burn for the psulei kachim. At kama him chayzrim. How large does the piece of the kachim that he has with him should be that he's required to go back? Rab Meir Omer, zev kebeitza, whether it's a case of chametz that he left in his house, or he has a piece of kachim. In both cases, he has to go back if it's the size of a kebeitza. Rabbi Yehuda says zev kezayis. In both cases, he goes back if it's the size of a kezayis. So what do you see over here? The opposite of what they said before. Over here, Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says that the size is a kezayis, and Rabbi Meir says the size is a kebeitza. In our Mishnah, it said the exact opposite. Rabbi Meir said kezayis, and Rabbi Yehuda said kebeitza. Rabbi Yechanan said, well, it's not only a question about eating, it's a question about the significance of the size of something, whether it's significant enough to pay attention to it, or it's just not, it's like it's too small and therefore we're not makbid on it. So it's not only by eating. Rabbi Yechanan, Mukhlefis Hashita. We have to switch our Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda is going to say Kezayis and Rabbi Meir says Kebeitza. Abaye says Lo'ilam Loi Tepech. No, you don't have to switch the opinions here. Hacha Bekroi Pligi. Here, the argument about Kezayis and Kebeitza regarding the Chiyuv of benching is based on the Psukim. Rabbi Meir's opinion is V'achalta, when it says that you bench and it says V'achalta after you ate, Zu Achila. V'achalta means eating. V'savata Zu Shtiya. Then when it says V'savata and you're satisfied, that's not referring to the eating. That's referring to something else. That refers to the drinking. V'achila B'kezayis. So since we separate Achila from Sviyah, eating alone is a Kezayis. Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is Ve'achalta V'savata. You read it together. Achila sheyesh basviyah. That's when you eat and you're satisfied. Ve'ezu zu kebeitza. That's only if you eat the minimum amount of a kebeitza. So here they're arguing about how to read the pasuk. Hasam over there regarding when a person takes the carbon out of Yerushalayim. V'svara pliki. There they're arguing not in a pasuk but in a svara. Rav Meir savar chazarasai kidum tumasai. The chiyuv, whether he's required to go back, we base the amount of the size on the halacha of tumah. Is it susceptible to tumah? Ma tumasa bekebeitza, av chazarasa bekebeitza. Just like we find that food that's susceptible for tumah, the minimum size is a kebeitza. So to over here, regarding requiring him to bring back the kachim in Yerushalayim or going back for chametz, is if it has that size of a kebeitza. Rabbi Yehuda says, chazarasai ki isurai. Requiring to go back is based on the size of the Isser. What's the Isser over here? Ma Isura b'Kezayis. All the Isurim there are in foods, the Chometz and the Kachim, not to take it out. The Isser is a Kezayis. Av Chazarasa b'Kezayis. So too, requiring to go back is based on the size of a Kezayis. So these are two different themes and are not connected, and therefore there's no contradiction in their opinions. Regarding what? Regarding benching? Midrabanan it's a kezayis, but minatayre we paskin like the opinion that v'achalta v'savata is read together, and minatayre the chiyuv of benching is only if it's a kebeitza. Midrabanan the chiyuv is the kezayis. Zok the Mishnah, Keitzad mezamnen. How do you do the zimun? What's the nusach? What do you say in the zimun? B'shloisha. If there are three people, Omer, he says nevarich. So then he says nevarich shachalna mishaloi. B'shloisha v'hu. If it's three people besides him, there's him and another three people. Omer, then he says, Baruchu, you should bench. He turns to them and says, you bench. Baruchu me'shachal mishaloi. When it's only three with him, so then he says to us, because it's only with him that you could bench. But if it's three without him, then he says Baruchu. Ba'asare, when it comes and there's 10 people, Omer, then he says Nivarech Elokeinu. Let us bench the Eibishter. So you mention Elokeinu. If it's 10 together with him, so then Omer Baruchu. So then he says Baruchu, you should bench the Eibishter Elokeinu, because even without him you have a minyan. Now the Mishnah says Echad Asare ve'Echad Asare Riboy. It doesn't make a difference if there's 10 or if there's 100 people or 10,000 people, whatever it is. the nusach of the bracha remains the same. B'meya, now the Mishnah continues. In the simple pshat of the Mishnah, it seems like it's a flow, that it's the same opinion. But the Gemara will explain that the continuation of the Mishnah is a different opinion, that there are differences between 10, 100, 1,000, as we'll see. B'meya hu oimer, if there's 100 people eating a meal together, you say, Nevarech Hashem Elokeinu. You add not only Elokeinu, but you say Hashem Elokeinu. Because there's more people present, so there's a greater praise, and you add another name. Veyavo, if it's 100 plus you, oime barchu. So you say barchu that they could bench the Eibusher even without him. Yaaleh, if there's 1,000 people who oime nevarech lashem Elokeinu Elokei Yisrael. You add another detail, a greater praise because of the presence of more people. You add Elokei Yisrael. If it's 1,000 without you, so then you say oimer barchu that you could bench, and you say this nusach Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Yisrael. Biribai, if you're with 10,000 people together that are eating, pretty hard job to cater such a meal. Aimer, so then you say, Nevarech Lashem Elokeinu Elokei Yisrael Elokei Tzvais Yoshev Akruvim. So you add more details in praising the Eibishter in the bracha. Alamazon Shachalma. Biribai Vahu, if it's 10,000 besides you, Aimer Baruchu, so then you say Baruchu. So according to the second opinion here, it changes as you go along. The Gemara will soon bring you the names of the source of these two opinions. Just like he begins and says Nevarech Elokeinu or Nevarech Hashem Elokeinu, just like he starts, that's how they answer as well. Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Yisrael Elokei Tzvais Yeshiv Akruvim Al Hamazon Shachalnu. Now, what is this? What are these two opinions? It's the following two opinions here. Rabbi Yossi Glili's opinion is Lefi Roiv Akol Hei Mevarchim. According to the amount of the kohol, the amount of people in the kohol, that's the bracha that you make. It depends on the number, like we said before, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Shanamar, as we see in the pasuk, B'makhelois Baruch Elokim Hashem Mimekar Yisrael. The Yidden amongst their congregations, and it uses a plural term, the Yidden bench from the beginning of their time. So you see that Makhelois, there's different types of kohol. There's a kohol of 10, there's a kohol of 100, and a kohol of 1,000, and so on. That's Rabbi Yossi Glili's opinion. Rabbi Akiva argues and says, no. Ma matzina bebeis hakneses. Just like we find when it comes to a minyan in a shul. Echad merubim ve'echad muatim. It's whether there's 10 people, whether there's 100 people. Oime baruchu es Hashem. You say baruchu. The baruchu that we say in davening is the same baruchu whether it's 10 people, whether 100 or 10,000. So to over here, it's the same nevarech Elokeinu for 10 people, and you don't add anything else. That's Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Now the Gemara parenthetically adds regarding the nusach of baruchu that we say, because he said the nusach is baruchu es Hashem. He says we say Rabbi Shmuel Omer baruchu es Hashem HaMaveirach, like the nusach that we say baruchu es Hashem HaMaveirach. This is the Mishnah here, and this is the argument about the nusach of zimun. The Rebbe spoke about this Inyan and mentioned this in the Sikha when he gave to this machlekes of Rabbi Yossi Glili and Rabbi Akiva. What's the basis of their argument? Rabbi Akiva says that the presence of the Shekhinah by 10 people, by 100 people, by 1,000 people is the same thing. Once you have a minyan, there's the Kedusha, the presence of the Shekhinah is the same, and therefore you say the same nusach of the bracha. Mashenka Rabbi Yossi Glili is saying, no, that the presence of the Eibusher becomes higher and higher and greater, and that's why you have to say more nusach of the bracha. Then the Rebbe brings a rocket shover, al pinigla, when you get to the gather of a tzibur. We know when you have 9 people, so there are 9 individuals. When you get a tzibur, it's not only a 10th person, but it creates a new entity. There's a new mitzias of a tzibur, and here there's the chkira, there's the shaila. It creates a new entity, but do the individuals retain their individuality even within that tzibur as well? So the Rogat Shava says that's the basis of the machlokes here. Rabbi Yossi Glili says Rabbi Akiva that is. Rabbi Akiva says once you come to a tzibur, the individuals and the individual number of people that are there is insignificant. There's a tzibur. You just look at the total sum of the tzibur, and therefore 10 is a tzibur, because that's what we learned out from the Meraglim, and then the same is 1,000, 10,000 is a shem tzibur. That's a new entity, and there's no nafkamina in the yechidim of what made up that tzibur. Mashenka Rabbi Yossi Glili says that we find by Moshe Rabbeinu when he did not want to accept the karbonis of Kairach, although it was brought from the Machzis HaShekel and it was all a part of the tzibur, yet the Eibishter says to Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Eibishter, the part of the carbon of kairach that's in this general carbon shouldn't be accepted. So we see that even the part of the Yochid is still recognized separately within the tzibur. So therefore, the Yochid, the numbers of the individuals, matter regarding the makeup of the tzibur. And that's why there's different nusach of the brachos that you say over here.
It's also the Indian Bereif Amma, the Smelach, right?
The greater amount of people.
There's a greater glory. What's the Yeshiva Kruvim? What is that? What's the Yeshiva Kruvim? What's the Taich meaning?
I don't know the language right now.
But it means the Kruvim of the Beis Hamikdash, or this different...
Not sure. Maybe they say no.
What does it say
this,
here?
by the way?
No, what?
That we say all these extra.
No. That's like a
And we don't say Baruch Hu either, but that's
No.
mashma that we say Baruch Hu.
No. No.
Sholosh ve'echad.
No.
But it doesn't seem like there's a machlekes.
There's a Gemara. This is only a Mishnah. Peaceful. If you're passing from a Mishnah, Mevali Olam.
No, there's no other opinions.
Even the
I
passing
had a
from
couple of
Gemara
days
is
ago a relevant halacha, but the Betzeya should be eat first before anybody else. You want to miss the bracha. So sometimes you can see that a person, let's say on a Friday night, so the polite thing is to give the other person first.
You're talking about even the platter of food, not only the challah. Is that
I'm
what
talking
you're
about the challah. I'm talking about the challah.
The challah is mamish halacha because you shouldn't
Right,
make a
but
hefsek.
Right, that's okay. Well, that's one reason. Other reason is because the Betzeya.
In other words, some people make the mistake when they cut the
Right.
challah Friday night or Shabbos morning. They cut for everybody. They cut like 7 pieces, and then they make a mitzvah for themselves.
Oh,
Is that what you're saying?
no. I'm saying they make the bracha and then they cut and they pass it out because the polite thing is because
Before you taste it, that's
it
a
out.
mistake.
Right.
You know, my father had a minute, has a minute, and he says that he